Is up? Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Recovery Soulfood Podcast. I'm your host, Reverend Lona L.C. Curry. I'm grateful as always to be here. I'm kind of going against my original post about going every other week, but there's something important to me tonight I want to share about and I want us to talk about. This is going to be an interactive, hopefully, discussion. We want to talk about what is a relapse, like what constitutes a relapse, and really, in all honesty, since we're a spiritually based, conscious recovery, whole self healing, soul healing podcast here. Honestly, a relapse doesn't have to just be in the addiction recovery space. We can have relapses of thought, we can have relapses of habit. But what I really want to talk about is what is the root? What constitutes a relapse? And I'll tell you how I kind of came to wanting to do this show and share about this tonight is just because I had an exceptionally hard week where the culmination of so much has been happening in my life and this year, and because I'm sitting on some big changes in my life, personally, everything. It just there were some things that came up in my mind this week, and that it just made me think about a whole lot of things. And so I wanted to do this show tonight. What is a relapse? Recovery Soul Food Podcast. We're taking a little bit of a break this week from the 10-part series. If you haven't caught up on the 10-part series, I've been taking apart I'm in year 11 of my recovery and healing journey. And so I've been taking those years apart and trying to extract and share the lessons, the blessings, and all of those things through each year of that recovery process. So that's what we've been doing. If you've missed any of those, episodes 1 through 6 is on our YouTube channel. You can also replay them on Facebook. But you can go and do the stuff on our YouTube channel. We're live there right now, youtube.com/@RecoverySoulfood. There's so many things, so many ways you can help support the show. I've listed a lot of them today in the description box below. You can like, share, follow, and subscribe. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok. Instagram is at recovery_soulfood. TikTok is at recovery soulfood. You can also help us keep going and growing by becoming a monetary sponsor. You can do that monthly at anchor.fm/recovery soulfood. You can click the support button. You could pay 99 cents a month, $4.99 a month, or I think there's a package where they have that's $9.99 a month. Just helps pay for the streaming platforms, pay for all the things that go into the podcast, and for everyone that's already there. I really, really, really appreciate you. It really, really helps a whole lot in just keeping this show up and going and growing and all the stuff. So I thank you for all the things you can do. You can also comment, you can like, you can share this video. You can do all of those things and help us, again, just keep going and growing. You guys know I don't do a whole lot of promo. If not for my sister and our soul sister, Pamela Topjian, I would probably not do a lot of promotion on this, just because I am currently in question on how to move forward and what's the vision and what's the new vision. So I appreciate all that you all do. And again, tonight needs to be a very, very interactive thing. I want to hear from you about relapse. I want to hear from you about what's going on in your world. I want to hear where you are. So please give StreamYard your permission for your comments to be public, so that I may be able to see them. And if you leave a comment, because we are live on quite a few different platforms and pages at once, if you leave a comment that I don't see during the live video, I will go back and see your comment and try my best to respond to all that we get. So thank you so much in advance for being so interactive tonight. I really, again, want to hear from you on what is a relapse to you. First of all, I want to share with you some resources. We have some amazing resources here that I always love to share about, because they really touch my life and touch my heart, and we love to support our community members. If you have written a book, or if you have something out that is aligned with our space, then DM me on Instagram and let me know what it is. I love authors. I love people that publish books. I love people that move forward and tell their story in many different ways. I want to know what you're doing. You guys are the rock stars of this universe right now, and your voice is necessary and needed in its true, authentic, and pure form. And so DM me on Instagram at recovery_soulfood. That will be back up before the video's over. And yeah, make a connection with me. I love the connections I make. Thank you so much. So the first resource I got, as always, is my good friend and soul sister Pamela Topchian's first book. I didn't come this far to only come this far. Very inspiring story, very real and raw, authentic truth shared in this story. And it will just inspire you. She's made that very affordable for most any budget. So please check that out. Amazon.com/Pamela Topchian, where you can pick up a lot of her original art and her original art journals and different cool things she makes. You can also pick up her second book, Behind the Mask, Gloves, and Scrubs, One Nurse's Journey. She has a beautiful way of being able to tell her story in a way that is inspiring and motivating and informative to others. Pick these resources up. You know where to get them. Amazon.com/Pamela Topchian. You can also really utilize this amazing resource of hers on YouTube at Pamela Topchian, where she does so many guided visualizations and hypnosises, as she is a hypnotherapist among many other healing modalities that she has. She's just a healer. Her energy is healing. She has an amazing guided visualization to overcome cravings. I urge you to go and take part of that resource as well. That's on youtube.com/at Pamela Topchian, Topjian. Next, we have in our lineup, in our roster, one of what has become one of my greatest resources of 2024. My good friend, my brother's version of the Tao Te Ching, Mr. Martin John Garcia, Recover Yourself, Recovery Mentor, has made this pocket-size, amazing resource in this Tao Te Ching. I use it as a devotional. It has all 81 verses with his interpretations with them. It really just opens your heart to new possibilities. It really just helps you become just one with creation. It's a beautiful resource, and you can pick that up on his website at martinjohn.com. Pick that up today, guys. And last but certainly not least here, I want to let you guys know that our good friend Maddie Jablonski of The Point of Change has written an amazing book in Poetry of Change. It's such a unique way that he shares his story, his experience. We love Maddie. He's my brother from another mother. And so I want you guys to pick this up as well on Amazon.com/Poetry of Change. Review the book if you already have it. Share it with a friend if you do. Let's make Maddie's book just number one. Why not? This is what our community does. It supports each other, and this is a beautiful testimony and testament to who he is. We all love The Point of Change, and Maddie, love that. I'm wearing my Sober is the New Cool gear tonight. I want to give a shout out to our good friend Kim Bellis and Sober is the New Cool. If you want to, kind of lost my t-shirt here. If you want to pick up your own Sober is the New Cool gear, you can do that. Is Sober is the New Cool .ca. Well, I'm ready to get into this and talk about what is a relapse. I want to hear from you guys again. Let this be interactive. So, if you guys are ready, I'm ready. Let's go. Man, I love that music. Took me a little time to pick that music out. It's got the greatest groove. I just love it. What's up, Jimmy? I'm in the chat. What is up, Jimmy C? Hello, my brother. What is up? I'm going to say this is Chip Dip Leonard Ghostall. Maybe not. Might not be. I don't know. I hope I didn't just say something wrong. What's up, Brandy? And what's up, Pamela Topchin? If you're watching on any of our other stream platforms, welcome. Make sure that you give StreamYard your permission to make your comments public. And again, I'll try to go back and look at comments and see if there's anything I missed. But let's get interactive, man. What is a relapse? It has been a question that has come up for me this week because there has just been this culmination of energy that's been happening in my life where I'm being asked to make some massive changes. Not necessarily massive changes outside of myself, but some massive changes inside. And I got to a place this week where the dam really finally just broke. And it broke in ways that were very different for me. Very, very different for me. Since the start of 2024, I felt like I took like a backwards spiral in my emotional life, in my inability to find and experience joy and what I in the ways that I used to experience gratitude. And I'm sure that it has a lot to do with overwhelm. And I'm sure that it just has a lot to do with it's time for that next ascension. And sometimes when it's time for our light to get its own upgrade, we have to walk through some darkness. And I've been trying to remind myself that this is the nature of ascension, that this is the nature of evolution, and this is the nature of recovery. This is the nature of a healing journey. You know, the myth is that you get to a place of happy. The myth is that you get to a place where you're just even all the time, that you get to a place where you're not supposed to experience negative circumstances, negative feelings, and all of those things. And that what that is a myth. And I think where we can get into the dangerous subject of relapse is when we're not sincerely monitoring our emotional responses to the active situations in our life. And what we really know is that emotional relapses often in the addiction recovery space can lead us into physical relapses. So I'll say that to say what really constitutes a relapse, because that's what I started thinking about this week, is what really constitutes a relapse. You know, there's so many different recovery modalities right now that I'm so grateful for, because for so long, when I stepped into really recovering out loud and in a public way, we were very limited on what we considered recovery. We were very limited to that. And I felt like I did not fit in the mold of that regular recovery program, but yet I was determined to be on a healing path. You know, I'm looking for freedom from addiction, not just days off. So, in order to gain freedom from addiction, you have to go and change that in which you are escaping, trying to enhance, modify, whatever it is. We have to go to the roots of those places, because I believe personally, for me and every other human on earth, that freedom is available, that we don't always have to be looking over our shoulder for relapse, and we don't always have to just barely be hanging on, that we can absolutely create lives that we love, and to where using is not even a factor, because we're no longer escaping. And so I guess what I really constitute a relapse is if I use something, whatever it is, to escape in a way that becomes almost obsessive, because I have found myself wanting to be distracted. Now, there's a difference between, taking a break from life and taking a break from your overactive mind and taking a break from your circumstance or situation. There's a difference in that and just wanting to be needing to constantly escape. The inability to be able to feel like you can move through whatever it is that you're going through in your life. And I have found myself in the 60 to 90-second distraction world, where to the point that it had almost gotten really obsessive. And I noticed what it started doing to me. It started creating this shame loop within me. And that shame loop, I thought many years ago that I had put to bed, but it turns out there's a little bit more that lives in there. And so, for all of the ways in which we recover, and all of the different ways that people are finding their freedom and their help and their resources in recovery, I started asking myself, was this obsessiveness about staying constantly distracted, when did it become like a relapse in my healing journey? When did it start to become something that, okay, is starting to become a little bit obsessive? I'm starting to want to escape, going through this. And I felt the shame loop come up, and shame is the lowest vibrating emotion that we can sit in. And shame goes hand in hand with addiction and hand in hand with addiction recovery. That shame loop can really take us to a place where we almost feel like, well, what's the point? I might as well just go all in. And so I had this day this week where it all just came crashing down. And it was the first time that I had contemplated, well, what, I got to a point where I was like, okay, what is this all for? What is this all for? I feel like I'm back at day one trying to go move through these energies. I feel like I'm back at day one in this I don't want to say this dark place, because even my darkest place now doesn't even compare to the darkness I used to live in all the time. But I didn't want to visit that world. But I felt like all of a sudden I was kind of contemplating, like, what is it all for? I gave it my best, and yada yada yada. I didn't have any I didn't really have any. This is going to be so hard to explain. It's already hard to explain. I didn't really have any like real desire to use substance, but all of a sudden I was back at the place where I was asking myself, what's it all for? Like, could I go back to the person that I was? Could I pick up again? And I just started realizing that I have created such a different relationship with substance that, I don't know. I don't think I ever really could. But then I just started thinking about, well, what is it anyway? What is the relapse anyway? And so the relapse, that I just came to, even with my distractions, is that relapse happens in the midst of truly, truly, truly wanting to escape, not taking a break, but just not deal with any of this stuff. And so, I know that probably that didn't make much sense. I'm still really trying to kind of figure out what it is that I'm going through. And and I feel, and this is a good, so I'm going to start going to comments, because you guys are doing exactly what I am talking about, is commenting here. And it's when you, in fact, not use the tools of recovery, you stop reaching out. My relapse actually started before the actual using. So that's a great way to say that, because it's very, very true. And so I started looking into how I got to that space. I started looking into all of the things beforehand. I started looking up even to the fact for me to want to ask myself that question, could we even go back? Brought up just such this thing in me that I wanted to start looking at. And we can get to a place for people that have been in long-term recovery that sometimes we can fail to use some of the earliest tools that helped us through. And so that's why I really started looking into my new obsession with, like, say, YouTube shorts, because it was just something different every minute, and I could just move through and constantly keep my brain distracted on these small dopamine hits, and not really utilize some of the tools, that I haven't maybe utilized in quite a while. And then I started going back to, how did I really get here in the first place? If I go all the way back to the beginning of 2024, and where I started feeling this kind of a descent in, oh, what is going on? Why do I feel like I'm just kind of stuck in this space and I can't really get going again? I started looking at all of the ways. In the beginning of 2024, right before 2024, we moved, and my routine was completely rocked. Everything was something, it was in a different space, a different spot, so all my routines were off. So I wasn't taking care of my body, and I thought it would be temporary. I kept promising myself, nope, I'm going to get back on my supplements, I'm going to get back on my routine, I'm going to get back and do all of that. And I just didn't. I didn't. I never have. I've just kind of let it go and let it go and let it go. So physically, I started feeling terrible, started feeling like I did before I began my regimens and taking care of myself. I stopped, because now once your routine is all knocked off out of whack, I stopped having my morning time, doing my morning practices, utilizing the tools that have really, really served me over the years. Not just not doing them on purpose, but what happens is we let ourselves kind of off the hook, and let this kind of go on, that it becomes the new normal. Because anything that we do over and over and over again, do or don't do, over and over and over again, we create this new habit, we create this pathway in our brain, and that becomes our new normal. And it just became this these excuses in my life and in my experience. It became these excuses to let myself kind of descend back into this space. And maybe it's going to turn out that I needed the reminder. I know that it's going to have turned out for a reason, but getting through it is proving to be harsh and hard. And so that's why I feel like, and since all of this has happened, since all of this has gone on, like, I have had this relapse, this emotional relapse, if you will. It's been emotional relapse, and it's really been a heavy burden to continue to carry, and it's really starting to show in my world, my physical reality. And I'm in a place right now. So what happened is, that day when my dam finally broke, when I got to the place that was just, you know, this is not serving me anymore. When I finally had that culminating break, there was this break open because a resource showed up. I got to listen to a great episode called on Unlearn, a great show called Unlearn the Crap, with a host named Kathy Baldwin. And I got to see her interview with my mentor. A lot of us in this community will know who she is, Amy Guerrero. She runs a program that's Thrive in Recovery with Amy. Her signature modality is called Regrooving. Really going to the roots of where trauma lives in the body, and really just your roots. But anyway, I worked with her quite a few years ago, and she really just helped me understand who I am as a human and how powerful I am on the earth to live the kind of life that I love, but that I needed to find the things that kept me in the same pattern loops. And I got to see this amazing interview with her that day that was very, very life changing. And it's very different, the space that I am in now. When I say, an emotional relapse, it's a very different space that I'm in now, because back then I was not open to resources showing up for me in my life. Today I'm very open for resources showing up for me in my life, and am willing to reestablish what it is that helps me live and create a life that I love. And I really urge you, I'll get a link and share it in a post close to this video about that show, because it is so informing and so inspiring. And I believe if anything in the world should be viral right now, it's that episode. It really hones in what addiction is, why it comes on, what it is presenting, why it's showing up as a mechanism, a coping mechanism. And it talks about ways and means to be able to release that and let it move through. And so just like we can trap trauma in our bodies, we can trap trauma in our souls, we can trap trauma in our minds. And this is how I believe that relapses begin to start. And if we go back to, I've been wrestling with myself over this year as well about, why are you finding it so hard? Why are you procrastinating taking care of yourself? Why is all this coming up? And it really, I think, also comes up and boils open that wound of worthiness, and that it is healed in stages. And maybe it's an ongoing healing process. I don't know. We'll find out. But that all of this time had to come up in order for me to recognize once again that this wound of worthiness is affecting many areas of my life. Many areas of my life. And so, you know, I feel like, I guess, I have faith that everything is for a reason. And maybe that makes me naive. Maybe people think I'm stupid like that, or whatever it is. That's fine. What people have to think. It's the thing that helps me keep going and growing in life. And that's why I feel like even this trip into parts of the darkness of the past me that is still alive in the present me, my trip through that was maybe to really discover what is not serving me. What is truly no longer assets in my life. And that wound of worthiness has a root in shame, and shame is always going to be a killer. It's always going to lead us to dangerous places. And so I guess I needed to see how prevalent that emotion and that vibration still is in my life. And so I wanted to utilize this, even knowing while I'm in this darkness, even knowing while I'm going through this, I want to always be aware and notice that this too has a reason. That I can go through this and there will be some amazing reason on the other side. There will be some amazing result. Maybe not even reason, but result. That if I continue to move through this, because I have faith that I am on a healing journey, and because I have asked to know and be the best possible version of myself, because I have asked for that, then this too must be a part of that journey. And so it's been super tough. It's been really, really tough. And but at the same time, it's been eye-opening to rediscover some of my earliest tools of recovery, some of the earliest things I put into practice in my life, in my awakening journey. And it's really hard for us on a personal level, because I also realize that it's not just me that's going through a lot of crazy changes. It's not me just revisiting old wounds and old patterns. It's not just me doing that. We are all on individual basis being called for this next journey, the next leg of our journey, if you will. And so we're doing that individually. And at the same time, we're going through big shit collectively. It's really hard not to have the energies play off of each other. And so what I know is that it's the most important time in our lives, personally and together as humanity. It's very important for us to start to recognize where our emotional relapses are, start to recognize while we're possibly leading ourselves to our physical relapses. It's important to know that this is part of that journey, and that we're going to make it through, that we're going to make it through, and that we can pull our energy back. And when we pull our energy back into ourselves, we pull it really out of the collective. And so we don't really add to the chaos and the fear that's happening. And we can focus in on the chaos and the fear that is happening with us, that may be holding us back from things. Maybe you're not going through something so severe where you've had a trip down shame lane. Maybe you are going through some things that aren't quite as big, and you're moving into like the next positive phase of your journey, like whatever it is, or you're wanting to move to the next level in whatever area that is of your life. And in doing that, we have to utilize and pull our energy back from that. Let our energy come back into home, into ourselves. Start really working in the spaces that we're being called to work through in our lives, whatever that may be. And that, and then turn, will move outwards from us. We don't change things by adding to the noise collectively. We change things by adding to the peace of ourselves individually. Because we can't ask for a peaceful world and not be in peace within our own selves. And peace is something that we can cultivate and hold no matter what's happening in the world. Peace is an inside job. I don't like to use the word happiness, because a lot of us have this belief system that happiness is a destination, and happiness is really just an experience. It's really just an experience. And so peace is what I'm truly after, because in my active addiction, peace was unheard of. All I wished for was peace of mind, that I could just stop my mind from running my show, that I could just stop my mind from going, and just telling me these stories about my life over and over and over again. Peace has been my main goal. With a foundation of peace, I don't think there's anything that we can't accomplish individually and together. But, relapses occur in whatever severity that they are. And what I think I've learned from my emotional relapse this week, and really this year, because it's all just led up to, it was all just leading up to the culmination of this one almost day, where it was just like, yeah, I'm tired of carrying the weight. Like, let's start examining some stuff and start asking the big questions, and finding out there, whatever the severity of the relapse that maybe you've experienced or you feel like you're experiencing. The only way to really come back from that in a bigger and brighter way is to arrest the loop of shame that's going to go through your heart, your head, and your mind. I started questioning, could I share with you all? I started questioning, who I was. Like, why would I even be here sharing? I feel like I'm just going through so much. And I realized that to be vulnerable and to allow that to just be said, I hope that it means that someone else is going through that and they just know that they're not alone as well. So, a foundation, what is your foundation? What is your foundation for where you are in your world? Where you want to go? What is your foundation? And I guess we work from there. I don't know. This has been kind of a random, like, kind of a share about this, and I don't know. See, we're not so there's not so much like interaction here. I want you guys to really leave in the comment like where you are, like where are you? Do you feel like you've had an emotional relapse? Do you feel like you've had like this what are you going through in these times? Like, what is this for our community? Because I think the recovery community is set up and to help humanity as a whole move through this next phase, because we're going through a lot of changes right now, again, individually and collectively. And I think the recovery community has a very big part in helping that ascension. And so, it's important for us to be open and vocal about where we are and what we're going through. And we need to see people in all, with all the answer, all of the comments, all of the ways, because we need to see people that are moving through the darkness, and we need to see people that are achieving their highest dreams and their highest, best goals, because we need hope. We need continuous hope that it's possible. We need to see continuous examples of human beings doing amazing human things. We need those examples, as well as being able to be open and vulnerable enough to vocalize what it is we're going through. I got to see this content, and I don't remember the channel right off the bat. I'll say it wrong, but it's like Major Christina something on Instagram. Maybe I can find it and put the link in. But she made this very, very open and vulnerable share about where she was in her recovery, and was so open about her thoughts in all that it just gave me this hope, and it just gave me this feeling of, okay, I'm not all alone here like shame wants to isolate you. Shame wants to isolate us and make us think that it's just us, that we're the only ones going through this, so you better not share about it because of whatever. And I was so inspired by this young lady for sharing so vulnerable where she was. And I related to the darkness that she felt. I related to the confusion that she felt. I related to the lack of spark that she felt, because for the longest time I had a great spark of passion. I had something that I did in sharing about all of this online, in creating shows and podcast episodes. I had this real passion for sharing. I'm not saying I don't now, it's just changing, but it was a guiding beacon in my journey. And so sometimes I think just through circumstances, and like for me, just lack of continued practice, that light has dimmed a little bit, and I'm ready for what the next phase is. And so keep posting, be vulnerable, let people know where you are, and do not be ashamed or afraid of that judgment. The possibility is there are going to be some people that judge you there, because they need to reflect like that. They need to not see their own stuff, so it makes it easy for them to judge you. But there's going to also be a lot of human beings that embrace you, or say that they can identify with where you are. And I think that it's the vulnerability of human to human sharing that's going to help us move through this next phase of God only knows what. God only knows at this point what the hell's next. And so we have to be prepared to meet it in our healthiest manner by getting healthy within ourselves first. And so, I don't know. Maybe any of this made sense. It's a wild time for me. Like I'm telling you, I want I'm on my way to clear vision for what's next. I'm on my way to clarity in my own in my own world and in my own things that I'm going through. And often it's when you're in it, it's hard to realize how big these things really, really are while you're in them. And it often takes somebody outside of you to say, "Hey, you're going through some big shit, so give yourself some grace." So if you hear nothing else and you show up for these last minutes, no matter what you're going through right now, give yourself some grace to move through it and know that you're doing the best you can. If you're doing the best you can, then you're doing the best you can. And that's got to be enough. And I embrace those words myself and I bring them in tight and I tuck them in because all I know and all I knew the other day when I hit that breaking point is that I am doing my very best. And beyond that, what else can I do? And I can't change the chaos in the world, and I can't change the chaos within me, without this clarity and this knowing of I'm doing my very, very best. And so, wherever you are, you're doing your best. Give yourself some grace. Okay, this is going to be a short one because I think I'm at the end of anything valid to share. I wish you all the best, and I just want you to know that I love you so much, and I see the potential in every one of you, and you're so purposed, and you matter so much, and please keep going. And if you're somebody who's still out there sick and suffering with a substance addiction, you are absolutely worth it. And if you begin to heal from the inside out, you'll get to a space where this is not what you need anymore. And so it will naturally go away. Don't shame yourself, and think that your recovery doesn't start before your abstinence does. But you have to be safe. We're losing too many people. So I love you no matter where you are. I hope that you have some wisdom that you'll share as you watch this video on the replay. If you got tips and tricks and tools, share them. Share them. We need each other more than ever. And just know that I love you guys. I'll try to be back next week for year 7. Year 7 is very significant in my recovery walk, and I hope there will be some nuggets of something in there that you can make a resource and that can help you in your own world. But until then, make sure that you utilize all the resources I shared with you in the beginning. Please do all the things like, share, subscribe, and all the stuff. You can also leave us a 5-star review where you find your podcast. These episodes are usually available the following day on all of your major podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, and all of that stuff. And I appreciate you. And thanks for sitting with me. Thanks for letting me vulnerably share and do your best. And just know that you can get up from your give up and you can create a life you love. I'm Reverend LC, and I will see you guys next week.